Welcome back. We've got an interesting episode this week. If you want to see me suffer, keep watching. This week, I'm going to show you a time lapse of my whole process that I took to create this painting. A few things I want to note up front. I tried to record this video in real time using iPad's built-in screen recording software, but as it turns out, it's not very reliable. From what research I've done, it seems there's been a bug ever since iOS 13 came out where that recording will just stop for no apparent reason, and it doesn't save the footage. So I've lost hours and hours and hours of footage because of this, trying to fight with this stupid screen recording program. Lucky for me, Procreate does record all of the process itself. It's just sped up a lot, and I was trying to do something a little bit slower, but we'll just use this for now. It should be fine, I think. Now, what you're seeing me do first is some thumbnailing of compositions and lighting setups. I did, I think, 9 of them, just testing out ideas and things. And then I think I chose one here that I liked. Or I took some elements from a few different ones to throw together to try to come up with a value sketch like this. The purpose of these value sketches is to, one, simply get down the composition and also set up my lighting and make sure that the values work. Particularly for an environment or landscape piece, you want to make sure that your lighting works well so that it creates that illusion of depth in the image. Now, I would say that after creating these thumbnails and sketches and everything, that it's best to stick with the idea, put a little bit more time in the beginning to really flesh it out and get really satisfied with the design before you move forward. You'll notice that I don't stick to mine very well. I mean, I do loosely. I get the overall ideas stays the same, but I do change a lot of things. Some of the mid-ground elements there, as well as the background of the trees and positioning of things. That's just, I work kind of sloppily like that. This whole painting is kind of challenging for me. I don't do a lot of environment pieces to begin with, so I feel like I maybe just went in a little bit too deep too quickly here. I change so much as I go, and it ends up taking a long time. By the end of this painting, I was just ready to be done with it. I was so burnt out on it. Now I am including like everything that's in the process. There's a lot of these here in the beginning. You see me experimenting with how I'm gonna color it and things like that, and just all kinds of different things. I'm just experimenting like crazy because for this type of painting, I don't have like a set workflow that I like to use or work with. So I waste. I wouldn't say I waste. It's not a waste. I spend a lot of time experimenting with different looks, coloring, the techniques, things like that. I'm not experienced doing plants and foliage. I had to learn a lot during this painting to get that right, which I'm pretty proud of how they came out. It was just a slow process for me. It was a real struggle. I learned a lot doing this piece, and going forward, I will be able to more easily create some environment pieces that I want to do, just from some things that I learned that I could use next time to speed things up. Now, I originally had the idea that I wanted to make this like a Studio Ghibli style of painting, where they use a very painterly style. It's a very nice look. I think I could be wrong, but to me it looks like they use watercolors in those movies. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I could be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I wanted to replicate that in the beginning. I wanted to, because I really like that artwork. But I did not actually stick to it very well when I started painting. My own styles kind of crept in there. but at least I tried to make it colorful and vibrant, like it's a big bright sunny day. I think this is like my third or fourth attempt at trying to color this painting, and you can see I'm just trying to figure out a good way to color it in while still keeping my values from my original value study. I think this is the last one I do. Yeah, I'm starting to go in and add some details now. I did create some custom brushes for this. I experimented with some grass brushes, as you can see, obviously, some leaves brushes. So I think I had a couple rocks for rock texture in there, and a bunch of different types of leaves for the trees and things like that. I did not end up using all of them. I wasn't sure what I would need, what I wouldn't when I made them. I thought maybe I would need them, but I didn't. And in the end, I only ended up using a handful of those brushes that I made, but at least I am very happy with the way the grass brush came out. It saved me a lot of time of adding in that texture. On the note of brushes though, when creating and using brushes, you really shouldn't just rely entirely on the brush. What I mean is, like, if you use only a grass brush for all of your grass, it's gonna look very not uniform per se, because you can get your brushes to add enough variance in there to kind of mask that, but it's not gonna look that great. What you want to use the brushes for texture, and then paint over that with a simpler brush to get the exact look you want. Now, where you'll see me do this is in the, like for example, in the grass, on the edges of the grass, I go in with a brush and do individual blades of grass or different little plants and things like that. Same thing with the leaves. Actually, I wasn't very happy with the leaves at all. I used them here in the beginning to set up texture and everything, but I ended up painting over them almost entirely, I think, in the end, with just a more subtle and direct way. That may just be because my leaves brush wasn't that great, and I'll have to tinker with that a little bit. But these types of brushes are in no way necessary for painting. In fact, I think a lot of artists rely on them too heavily. A very common question on big art YouTube videos is, what type of brush are you using? What brush is that? It's not necessarily a bad question. It's really not really the question most people should be asking. The brushes will not make you a good artist, period. The brushes are a tool, but they're not gonna make you a better artist. You could do any painting, or this whole painting, with a round brush if you wanted to. Those types of like grass brushes are just there to speed things along just a little bit, not to like get the final look or anything like that. It just seems that in typical fashion, people are just looking for a shortcut to get better at art, and these brushes are a type of shortcut, but they're just not going to make you a better artist. If you don't know your fundamentals of creating art, or have good techniques or skills or whatever, the brushes aren't going to do you any good. It's still going to look like crap if you don't know what you're doing, or at least have some idea of what you're doing. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know everything about everything and what I'm doing. As you can see how much I jump around, I don't have much idea what I'm doing. But yeah, anyway, brushes, yeah, they're great, but don't rely on them too heavily. At this point, I'm starting to go into like a more detailed look, less painterly, like more detailed. So I really get into those bushes and those rocks on the little shore there, and the water in the little stream. In retrospect, I wish I hadn't have gone that detailed. I think I could have accomplished the same effect with less detail and just being more loose and painterly about it. even to this day, I still have to fight those urges to go in there and start painting every little blade of grass and every leaf and every little pebble and stone. It's entirely unnecessary. It doesn't need to be done, and it doesn't really add that much to the image to begin with. It's a very common thing for people to get wrapped up in the details. It's because you want it to look good, and a lot of the time you think, well, the more details will make it look better, which isn't always the case. Like some details you can afford to leave them out. They don't add anything to your image. Like if I had started rendering every little stone on this little path, like, is that really gonna make it a better image? No, probably not. It may be something I can say, look how good that path looks. Damn, that's a good looking path. But it's not necessary, and you don't need it. It's largely a waste of time. When doing paintings like this, you just need to get the idea across in an effective way. You don't need to render every little thing, like I was saying. Just getting the idea across is enough. So I think for my next environment piece, I am going to stay a lot more loose, less detail, but just enough to give it that feeling that I want. Oh yeah, I'm struggling with that little house on the hill there. Yeah, that thing. I didn't have a clear idea of how I wanted it to look. Like I knew I wanted like this East Asian type of building there, but other than that, I didn't have much idea. So you see me trying a lot of different things and different colors as well. This is really probably something that should have been decided on earlier in the designing stage. Not right now, because now I have to, when I change it, I have to change so much because my lighting's already there, my shadows are already there, and when I paint over it, it just have to change a lot. And something I didn't do in this image that maybe I should have, I probably should have. I didn't check my perspective grid before I went ahead with all this rendering. What I should have done was set up a perspective grid just to check things out, because I soon noticed after I was really working on the house that the perspective lines were off. I'm sitting here staring at it now, and I just want to die. I'm just kidding. That's an exaggeration. But the point is, the perspective lines are not the best. They're not perfect. I think they're close enough. Like, unless you're really analyzing the image, like, you're not gonna notice. Except me, I'm of course gonna notice. Here I am, still playing with the lighting, trying to bring some of that light through the leaves on those mid-ground trees. Added in some really rough clouds real quick. Of course, I'm gonna change those later. Those are just, I don't know, I wanted to put some clouds in there. And then here I go, starting with the foreground foliage. Now, this is what as I was saying earlier, I didn't just use the grass brush and leave it at that. Now, here I go with I think I'm using a smooth inking brush here. I think it's one of my custom brushes. I just go in and start hand painting these plants in the foreground. It's more important to make these look believable than say any of the others, because they're so close to the viewer that they're more noticeable. So you won't see me getting as detailed with them, and the further into the image we go. Then I'm also playing with some of the dappled lighting coming in, hitting the ground, like going through the trees. And I didn't know what to do with this foreground little statue thing for a long time. You see in the beginning it had a little blue swirly thing, and I thought, oh, it might be some type of crystal or something like that. But I did want it to be some type of crystal, but I just wanted to simplify the design a little bit. So I made it more of just like a teardrop gemstone type of thing, just floating. on the little pedestal. I'm just painting some of the light reflecting off of it, passing through it, giving it a red glow. I think it came out pretty okay. There we go. Start rendering the trees a little bit. Again, this most foreground tree is going to get the most attention because it's the most noticeable, and it would have the most noticeable detail since it's the closest to the viewer. Threw in some dirt little ledges there, and here I go again, just hand painting grass blades and bushes. Again, not relying entirely on my brushes that I made, and want to do it by hand to get the really good look. I struggle a little bit too with getting the lighting right on the tree bark. Like, I wanted some of that light to be like, coming in between the leaves, and I wasn't satisfied with how the light was rimming around the leaves either. So you see me coming in here and playing with that as well. I'm trying to simplify the shapes a little bit. It seemed a little bit too noisy. So just going to hand paint some of those leaves in there rather than using that brush, particularly around the silhouette. You want the silhouette to look nice. Let's see, where am I at? Painting grass. This is, there's nothing really complex about what I'm doing here. It's just tedious. It takes time to just go in there and just brush in all these little details, which, like I said earlier, could have been done in a different way and it would have been faster. It wouldn't have looked as detailed, but it still would have got my point across. You would have been able to say, oh, that's a bush, nice, and then you move on, which is what people do anyway when they look at the image. They don't really care about how each leaf looks or how, if it's shaped well or whatever. They just scan the image and say, oh, it's a bush, okay, got it. And that's all the information you really need. I am a little upset that this video is sped up so much, but this is like the speed at which Procreate records the images. I wish that my iPad had recorded as it should have, or that I at least known about this bug beforehand so that I could have used some third-party software to record the screen instead. But no, I'll take that forward in the next video that I do. If I use my iPad again instead of Photoshop, then I'll use a third-party app to record it so I can get some more real-time footage in here. So sorry about that. Here I go with the tree in the foreground. I really simplify this one. Like, I don't know what I was doing here. Trying to make it look better. Just going in there, I'm hand painting it now. Basically just messed out the brushing I did all together just because it was too noisy, that brush that I have. I need to change it. It just wasn't smooth, or at least not the look that I wanted for this painting. The rest of the video is really just me rendering out tiny little details here and there. A little bit with the path, some of the bushes and grass here and there. Except for actually two major things. I changed the roofing of the building, as well as the base of the building and the trees behind it. I actually just erased them completely and redo them because right now, as far as the trees go, they are way too noisy. They don't match the style of the rest of the trees in the painting, so I had to redo those. And I wanted to also add a little bit more coloration. Oh, before I forget, also the size of those trees are massive compared to the rest of them. If you try to scale them down or match them up, like those trees in the background are huge, so I need to make them smaller as well. And then the roofing of the building, I'm not happy with the color of it and the style either, so I changed that up to add a little bit more color to the building and have a more realistic traditional style of roofing for that type of building. I think I also incidentally create some more perspective problems for myself when I did it, but again, I think it was close enough that it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole process right there. I also, I add some color into those very far background trees, and I redo the clouds to make them a little bit more realistic looking. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Looks like there's just another minute or two left on this recording, so I'll just let this video play out so you can see the rest of the process and the final image. If you liked the video, please like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, tell everybody. That'd be great. Thanks for watching.